This is the MG ZT, born out of Rover's R40 project, which later became the 75, impressively remaining essentially unchanged from its original concept sketches. It was a valiant attempt by Britain's last homegrown, mass-produced manufacturer against the likes of Jaguar with their recent retro-styled S-Type, and was a more blue-collared attempt to compete with the ever-growing German presence in the world of four-door saloons. Codenamed the X10 during development, it was managed by Rob Oldacre, who also led the creation of MG's Le Mans prototype program in the early 2000s with Lola cars, a motorsport name that any aficionado would associate with a degree of racing pedigree. Since Peter Stevens' restyling of the Rover lineup into the MGZ range in the early 2000s, many people have written it off as a Rover with some new bumpers, whereas fans of the model, and I am one of them, beg to differ.
Hello everyone, my name is Tom and welcome to Carpe Diem. So, the MGZT, why does it have a almost cult following between its passionate and dedicated fans? Well, from the outset, there are plenty things to like about this classic car. And I say a classic car because you can actually get classic car insurance for it. It's quiet, it's refined, it's smooth, it's nice to drive. This particular one that I'm in today is finished in a very lovely Monogram super metallic called Nocturne, and that was part of the MG Monogram Program. The Monogram Program was MG's personalisation scheme, which is what they used to allow people to, and I quote, reflect their individuality, as they say. You've got lashings of leather, you've got blue Alcantara, and on top of the blue Alcantara seats, the main shape that is associated with the interior of the ZT is the oval. You have oval gauges, you have oval buttons, you have oval lights, you have oval vents. It's everywhere over the car. But now, personally, in a world of angular designs that we currently have at the moment, I've become fond of the oval. I quite like it, in all honesty, I do. Engine-wise, you have a variety of engines to choose from the MG ZT, from a 1.8 litre turbo, a 2 litre diesel at the bottom end, and then all the way at the top end you have a 4.6 litre 2-valve per cylinder Mustang engine from America. They command quite a bit of a premium in comparison to the one I'm driving today, and that is the MG ZT 190. It's powered by a KV6 with about 190 odd horsepower. Now let's get straight to it. With 190 horsepower and in a car weighing about 1.5 tons, it's not blisteringly quick. Many people have said that the KV6 is at the limit of what it is for its tuning ability. However, I have seen quite a few heavily tuned KV6s with individual throttle bodies that I have to say do sound quite tasty. One of the more unknown versions of the MG ZT range, more specifically the ZTT, was what was known as the X15 Project. This is more commonly known in the MG circles as the ZTT Bonneville. Now what this was a ZTT estate car. They got I think it was a 7 litre, check me if I'm right there, a 7 litre Roush unit put in the front to put a roll cage in the middle, a parachute at the back, and gave it some streamlined wheels. They took it to Bonneville, and at Bonneville they ran it on the long course, and they hit 225 miles an hour back in 2003. And it was a record back then for the fastest non-production estate car in the world, and that record still stands to this day. To this day! Madness. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Many critics of the ZT palm it off to the side because it's based on the Rover 75. Now I'd argue that's not actually that bad of a thing. It was a complete ground-up project known as the R40 project, which then became the 75, which then the 75 then became the ZT. There was no rehashed bodywork put on top of a 30-year-old chassis underneath of it. I'm looking at you, Jaguar XJS, with its 30-year-old underpinnings underneath it with a very lovely body on top of it. I think it was the X100. Jaguar fans, tell me otherwise if I'm wrong, please. Now, I have a slight confession to make. One that you may have been working out whilst you've been watching this video, and that is, this is no ordinary MG ZT, and that's because it's my MG ZT. And at that, this isn't even my first MG ZT. I previously had one in the past that was a lovely Monogram Gulfstream, had a wonderful leather interior amongst other things. However, I couldn't afford the running costs, I couldn't afford the insurance at the time, and I've now realised, looking back, I was a bit silly to buy it at that time in my life. But hey, live and learn. As you can probably tell, I'm really happy with the example that I've got here. I bought it from a very passionate MG enthusiast from the Midlands who had an extensive amount of paperwork on it. Honestly, testament to the previous owner for having all the paperwork. It was a folder about yee thick, and it also had the original brochure and the original spec list. Let's have some noise, shall we? Lovely. Driving opinions? Well, for me, when you drive this, you're transported back to a time when the focus wasn't purely on the performance aspect of the car. You travel back to a time when it was more about how it felt on the road, how compliant it was, how it felt around corners, again, considering the size that it was. Whether that's either cruising down the motorway or picking up the pace, shall we say, on some twistier roads. And to be fair, that's how this feels when you accelerate hard in it. It's not blisteringly quick, like I've said already, but it very much feels like the sort of thing you would say to your driver if they were taking you to the golf club. Jeffrey, would you mind awfully picking up the pace a little bit? Certainly, sir. I have to admit though, even though these brakes are fairly fresh, when you brake hard towards a roundabout, it does feel like you are lugging around a lot of weight when you're trying to brake quickly. Maybe something I need to look at when I take it for its next service, who knows. Doing a twisty road in this car at speed is not what it's built for. It's mainly built for a cruising on a motorway. But considering the size of it and how much it weighs, it holds its own quite well. Issues with ZTs? Well, I've had a couple of issues in the last 6 weeks or so since I've owned it. Chief among which have been the doors, the latches freezing shut when it's cold in the UK winter, which isn't lovely. This then resulted in me having to drive to work with my left hand hopping between the gear stick and the steering wheel, and then my right hand holding onto the door for dear life with it being shut until the car warmed up a little bit more. Not great. The only other issue that I've had, when I was driving back from the Midlands where I picked up the car, I decided to turn the volume up on the radio to a particular song that I was listening to. However, I turned it up via the steering wheel, and when I pressed it, I only pressed it a few times, but then the volume decided to lock on and dial all the way to the max. And no matter which button I pressed, whether it either be the radio itself or the steering wheel, it would not turn down. And then finally, after about 10 minutes after Frank Sinatra blew my eardrums out, I eventually pulled over, turned the engine off, clicked a little small reset button and all was well. I just definitely won't be turning it up through the steering wheel anytime soon. But what about other people's opinions of the car? Well, since I've owned it, either my friends or my family, they have been overwhelmingly supportive. They have given the car nothing but praise. And weirdly, the most comments have actually been from people who aren't really into cars. I don't really know what that says, but the vast majority of people who aren't bothered about cars have actually given me the most comments and compliments for that matter. I'd say that my car friends have not shied away from making jokes at my expense. Questions like, when you get your beaded seat covers, when are you getting your OAP bus pass, when you go to the golf club next, all that kind of thing. When I first bought the car, I proudly sent a picture of the front of the brochure to my car friends. On the front of the brochure, the slogan for the ZT at the time of launch was, "Let compromise be for other people." I personally loved that slogan. I think it's brilliant. It's just the right amount of self-righteousness and pretentiousness all rolled into one. And even though I did find this funny, my car friends responded back just as quick by saying, "Let taste be for other people. You know who you are." And I argue by comparison, let imperiousness be for other people. Be smug in your German barges. Be smug in your Audis and your Mercs and your BMWs. To all you naysayers out there, waft around in your German barges and your expensive EVs. In a world full of excess and where people chase the latest and greatest, everyone thinks they're being special. And as we know from the villain in The Incredibles, Syndrome, I think his name was, when everyone's special, no one will be. If you drive around certain parts of West Yorkshire in your Mercedes or your Audis or your BMWs, you could be mistaken for being the salesman of things of a medicinal or herbal variety. So what do you guys think about the ZT? Do you think it was doomed to fail from the beginning? Or did its German rivals get the accolades that they deserved? Or was it a misunderstood hero that never got to realise its full potential? Could its Rover 75 underpinnings been a model for, and had the flame been fanned at the time by the BMW boss of the 1997 NEC Motor Show, been the saviour of the MG Rover group? Could it have reminded us that Britain could make a luxurious, well-built four-door saloon against its rivals at the time? Is it something that we could be proud of? I certainly think it's something that we could be proud of. So thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've enjoyed making it. There are many more videos that are going to be coming to the Carpe Diem channel. Road trips, adventures, cinematic shots, a variety of different things. Welcome to Leeds, everyone. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment below on the sort of videos that you'd like me to make, the sort of cars you want me to review, the sort of adventures I could take you on. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you soon. Lovely.